morning students, welcome back to ISS online classes. I hope you all are fine and safe, and I hope you all are enjoying online classes. Now today we are going to start with a new chapter, and the name of the chapter is chapter 11, Political Formations in the 18th Century. Now in the previous chapter we have studied about the advent of the medieval period, that how the medieval period in India started and what all changes were there done during those periods, and how the native rulers, they were marginalized. Marginalized means what? They were divided by the Afghans and the Turks, and how the Mughal dynasty, the powerful Mughal dynasty, started declining or deteriorating in the last 25 years of their rule. And after the Aurangzeb, especially the Emperor Aurangzeb, the Mughal dynasty started declining. Now in this chapter you will study about the decline of the Mughal Empire and the rise of the regional powers. So the first topic for our chapter is decline of Mughal Empire. Now Aurangzeb, he died in the year 1707. His successors were known as the later Mughals. Successors means what? After Aurangzeb, whosoever was ruling in the center of India, those Mughal emperors are called as the later Mughals. And Bahadur Shah I, he ruled from the year 1707 to 712. For 12 years, Bahadur Shah Jafar was ruling in India. He tried to win the Rajputs, Marathas and the Sikhs. To whom he tried to win? He tried to win the Rajputs, Marathas and the Sikhs. He was succeeded by Jahandar Shah, who ruled only for a few months. After Bahadur Shah, Jahandar Shah was ruling, and only for few months he was ruling in India, because he was a puppet in the hands of Zulfikar Khan, a powerful noble. That time Zulfikar Khan was a powerful noble and he was a puppet. Puppet means what? In Hindi it is called as Katputli hona. So that means whatever Zulfikar Khan was saying, so Jahandar Shah has to follow that, and he has to work according to the orders of Zulfikar Khan. So he was a puppet, and then Jahandar Shah was succeeded by Farrukh Siyar. Who was succeeded after Jahandar Shah? Farrukh Siyar. But he was also a puppet puppet of Sayyid brothers. Now he was the puppet of Sayyid brothers, not of Zulfikar Khan. Abdul Khan Bara and Husain Ali Khan Bara, since they chose what was to be made king, they were known as the kingmakers. Now these two brothers you can call, or these two people you can call, they were the kingmakers. Kingmakers means what? They used to choose the people that who will sit on the throne and who will rule according to their rules in India, the center India. Okay, that is called the center India, which was in Delhi. That time the capital of the Mughals was shifted to Agra in Delhi. So that time what they did in the year 1719, they removed Farrukh Siyar from the throne. Now what these kingmakers did, they said that we don't want this Farrukh Siyar as the king, so they removed Farrukh Siyar, and within a year they replaced and removed two more rulers from the throne. In the same year what they did, they replaced two more another kings in that place, and they also removed them, and in 1720 they made Muhammad Shah the emperor. Now who was the emperor in 1720? Muhammad Shah was the emperor, and Muhammad Shah checked the powers of the Sayyid brothers. What did he do? He checked the powers, means what? He was not he did not try to strengthen the empire, means what? He wanted to establish the independent kingdom but not strengthen the empire which he was ruling currently, and that is why his rule ended in the year 1748 and the Mughal Empire existed only in name. That means he ruled only for 8 years in the Mughal Empire, and after that his Mughal empires, it just existed in name, means what? Only the name was there, but the Mughal Empire started becoming weak day by day. And the invention of Nadir Shah in 1739 and Ahmad Shah Abdali in 1761 shook the Mughal Empire. Now which, because of the two persons, that is Nadir Shah and Ahmad Shah Abdali, because of that the Mughal Empire was totally declining, and what they did was that they were tottering the Mughal Empire. Tottering means what? Continuously they were attacking, or continuously they were doing some things like that which is against the rules of the Mughal empires. And Nadir Shah, he took away the Kohinoor diamond. You must have heard the name of the Kohinoor diamond, right? So this Nadir Shah, he took away the Kohinoor diamond from the Mughal Empire, and Ahmad Shah Abdali, he took away the peacock throne of let us study about these independent kingdoms. Like after the Mughal empires, basically the three main independent kingdoms were the Awadh, the Bengal and the Hyderabad. Which were the three main kingdoms? The Awadh, Bengal and Hyderabad. They rose as independent kingdom. Now we will study about Awadh. Muhammad Shah appointed Sadat Khan the governor of Awadh in 1722. Now who became the governor of Awadh in 1722? Sadat Khan. The zamindars, what they did, the zamindars of Awadh, they refused to pay the taxes on time. Means what? They were rebelling. Rebelling means what? उनके खिलाफ जाना या उनसे बिल्कुल भी cooperate नहीं करना. They used to not cooperate the Sadat Khan, and that is why Sadat Khan, what he did, he suppressed this rebellion. Suppress means what? By doing any action, you have to suppress their movement, and that is why he started the revenue system. What he started? The revenue system, and plus he combined the offices, especially the three offices that is called as Subadar, Faujdar and Diwan. All these different offices he combined into one office, and he was succeeded by Safdar Jung. Who was succeeded after him? Safdar Jung in the year 1739. Sadat Khan and his successors virtually ruled Awadh as the independent rulers. Means what? They were ruling the Awadh kingdom independently. Means they were not under anybody's rule, and they provided a good administration for the people. Means whatever the needs of the people were there, they used to fulfill that. And Lucknow was being the capital of Awadh, and it was a major center of art and culture in the medieval period. Now let us study about the Bengal. Now Murshid Quli Khan was the governor of the Bengal under the Mughals. Now when the Mughals were ruling in India, that time Bengal was under their rule. So that time Murshid Quli Khan was the governor of the Bengal, and taking the advantage of the weak center. As you all know that the Mughals, they became weak, and this Murshid Ali Khan, he took the advantage and he seized the power and began to rule independently. He seized the power means what? He had taken the power completely in his hands and he started ruling it independently. Means what? He was not under the rules of the Mughals anymore, and he made Murshidabad his capital. Now he shifted his capital from another place and it shifted to Murshidabad. And in the year 1729, he was succeeded by Sujauddin, who ruled till 1739. So who was succeeded after Murshid Quli Khan? Sujauddin. And after him, Ali Vardi Khan and Siraj-ud-Daulah became the rulers of the Bengal. Now after that, who became the rulers? Ali Vardi Khan and Siraj-ud-Daulah. They became the rulers of the Bengal. Now administration of the Bengal was improved by the rulers of the Bengal. Now whosoever was ruling like Siraj-ud-Daulah or Alvida Khan, they improved the administration of the Bengal, plus they improved the conditions of the agriculture, trade, industry, plus any peasants that were there who required the loans. So they used to give the loans to such needy poor peasants, and the strict control was maintained over the collection of custom duties. So whichever the custom duties were there, they used to have a strict control on that. That means nothing, no corruption was being done in that. And in the 18th century, Bengal became one of the prosperous city of our India. In the 18th century, Bengal became the prosperous, you can say, region of India, and because of this, the British started attracting towards the Bengal, because Bengal famous, it became famous throughout the world also, and that is why the British got attracted towards it. And in the historic battle of Plassey, that is 1757, now it's a historic battle means what? If you are studying this battles, then you will hear the name of the Battle of Plassey, which was fought in the year 1757, and the Battle of Buxar, which was fought in the year 1764. So these two battles are very famous, and because of these two battles, the British, they firmly made their existence in the Bay of Bengal, and they started ruling in the Bengal. Now let us study about the next place, that is Hyderabad, that how the Hyderabad grew up as an independent kingdom. Now Chin Kulij Khan was a powerful noble in the court of Farrukhsiyar and Muhammad Shah. So who was the powerful noble in the court of Farrukhsiyar and Muhammad Shah? Chin Kulij Khan, and he was awarded the title of the Nizam, Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah. So Chief Kulich Khan, he was awarded the title. Awarded the title means he was given as a name that Nizam ul Mulk Asaf Jah, which is also known as Nizam, and whosoever the successors were there, they were called as the Nizams of the Hyderabad. If you will study the history of India, especially about Hyderabad, then you will hear the name at Nizams. So these Nizams are the successors of Chief Kulich Khan, and what he did, he was given the responsibility of governing the Deccan provinces. The Deccan provinces which were there in the south, so he was the responsible person for governing them. Governing means what? Ruling them. And he carved out the state of Hyderabad, which he ruled as an independent ruler. Carved out means what? Actually whatever the administration was there, so he was making it different from other states, and he made a completely Hyderabad as a completely independent state, and he appointed Mansabdars and granted them Jagirs without the permission of the Mughal king. What he did, though he was under the rules of the Mughals, but he did not follow them, plus he made Jagirdars and he gave them Jagirs also so that they can rule their Jagirs, and he did not took the permission of the Mughals king for this, and Muhammad Shah was powerless to stop him and had to agree all his decisions. Now Chief Kulich Khan, he became powerful, and Muhammad Shah, he could not stop him, and he had to agree whatever the decisions this Khan was taking. And now we will study about the Rajputs. After the death of the Aurangzeb, most of the Rajput states had become independent. Means what? After the death of Aurangzeb, the Mughal Empire, it started becoming more and more weak, and that is why these states of Rajputs, they started becoming independent, and the most enlightened Rajput ruler was Savai Raja Jai Singh of Amber. Now you must have heard the name of the Raja, this Savai Raja Jai Singh, and he encouraged the teaching and learning of science. He encouraged means what? He told the people that you have to learn and teach science, plus he was the founder of the city Jaipur. So Jaipur was founded by who? Savai Raja Jai Singh. Okay, so he founded the Jaipur city and made it a capital of the Rajput kingdom, and he was also interested in astronomy and built many observatories. So astronomy means what? About the stars, planets. Okay, you have to identify the different types of planets. You all know what is astronomy, right? So, and because of that, he built the observatories so that the people who were interested in the astronomies can study about the different planets and our solar system. And Raja Jai Singh was only 11 years old when he became the king. So he was just, he was a kid that time when he became the king, and that is why Aurangzeb gave him the title Savai. So this Savai was given to, title was given by whom? Aurangzeb. Now Savai means what? It's one and the quarter times more of a man. Means a man, a complete man plus and a quarter of that man. That means 1 point, if in mathematical terms if you are guessing, then it is 1.25. Okay, so 1.25% like that. So complete 1 and 25 means the quarter part of the whole. So it is called as Savai. Now we will study about the Sikh. Now as we know that we have studied about the Sikh gurus. Now how did the Sikhs become powerful in the India? We are going to study about that. The Sikhs became the strong political and military force under Guru Gobind Singh. Now this Guru Gobind Singh, you all know that they were the 9 gurus he was one of the 9 gurus of the Sikhs. So because of him, the Sikhs, they became the strong political and military force, and he also organized the Sikhs into the military groups, and those groups are called as Khalsa. What are they called as? Khalsa, which means pure. The meaning of Khalsa is what? Pure. So he inspired the soldiers to fight the Mughals. So what he did, he inspired the soldiers to fight against the Mughals, and you must have heard the slogan, the famous slogan of the Sikhs is Vaheguru Ji ki Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh. That means what? The Khalsa belongs to the God, and all the victories of the Khalsas are the victories of the God. Means what? The Khalsas, that means the Sikhs, they belong to the God, and whatever the victories the Khalsas are having, all those victories, it belongs to the God. So body. For example, the first one is the Kesha, Kanga, Kara, Kacha and Kirpan. These are the 5 sacred symbols. Now Kesha means hair, Kanga means comb, Kara means bracelet, Kacha means underwear, and the 5th one is Kirpan, that means a dagger. So Kesha means hair. Now you all know that Sikhs people, they don't cut their hairs, right? So cutting or removing hair from any part of body was not allowed, as hair is the symbol of spirituality and signified surrender to God's will. Now according to Guru Gobind Singh, what does he mean? That if you are cutting the hair of your body or if you are removing hair from any part of the body, then you are not allowed that, because your hairs are the symbol of spirituality. That means you are giving completely yourself to the God. And Kanga means what? It is the symbol of cleanliness. Just as we comb our hair and we take out the broken strands. Broken strands mean what? जो अपने टूटे हुए बाल होते हैं. When we comb our hair, that time we remove them, and similarly we should remove the bad thoughts from our mind. So whichever the thoughts that are coming, negative thoughts that are coming to in our mind, we should remove them and we should fill our mind with the positive thoughts. The next one is Kara or bracelet. So it acts as a reminder to stop a person when he raises his hands to do anything wrong. That means when they are wearing a bracelet in their hand, that means when you raise anything to do anything wrong to someone, that is going to stop you. So whenever you wear a bracelet, that means it's a reminder, you know, it's just like a reminder that you don't have to do anything wrong to any person. Kacha means what? It's a symbol of high moral character. So if you are wearing kacha, that means your moral character will be high. Okay. Then the next one is Kirpan or dagger. That means it is used to defend the helpless and uphold the truth. So whosoever the people are there, helpless people, okay, so the dagger is used for them. Now you must have seen the dagger, that small sword is there. Sword means what? एक छोटी सी तलवार होती है. Sikhs people, they are holding it in their hips, right? अपने कमर पे छुपा कर रखते हैं, and they are carrying it wherever they are going, especially the Sikhs people. So that knife is called dagger in English, or it is called as kirpan in their Sikhs language. So it is used for the helpless people to defend means what? उनकी रक्षा करना, okay? And uphold the truth. Uphold means what? Means if anything wrong is going on, then they can stop that thing with the help of the dagger. And after Guru Gobind Singh, Sikhs were led by Banda Bahadur. After Guru Gobind Singh, who was leading the Sikh community? Banda Bahadur. And he continued the struggle with the Mughals. And in the second half of the 18th century, the Sikhs formed 12 political groups, and they are called as misls. What they are called as? Misls. Now each misls, they used to control a specific area, and now their guru, towards the end of the 18th century, another leader became of this misl, and he is known as Maharaja Ranjit Singh. Now I think you must have also heard the names of Maharaja Ranjit Singh, right? Ranjit Singh. So Maharaja Ranjit Singh, the leader of the Sukar Chakia misl. Now the name of the group is Sukar Chakia misl. He united all the misls. Means what? All the misls, they started ruling different areas or the specific areas. So what he did, instead of ruling all the different areas, why don't we unite? Why don't we come together and we can establish one powerful kingdom? And under his rule, the Sikhs, they established a powerful kingdom in the Punjab, and still the community in Punjab is one. And next we are going to study about Mysore. Now next to Hyderabad, the most powerful in the south was Mysore. So in the south, after Hyderabad, which place was more powerful? It was Mysore, and it had been only normally a part of a Mughal empire. Normally means what? Just it was a part of a Mughal empire. And in the 18th century, two strong rulers, Hyder Ali and his son Tipu Sultan, were powerful. Now who two rulers were very powerful in the Mysore? Hyder Ali and Tipu Sultan. Now Hyder Ali was father and Tipu Sultan, he was son. And Tipu Sultan is also known as the fighter, tiger of Mysore. What Tipu Sultan is known as? Tiger of Mysore. Now both, what they did, they modernized the army and arsenal at the Dingi Gul. And Tipu Sultan, what he did, he built a modern navy for controlling the seas. And Hyder Ali and his son fought against the English. So when the English, they tried to capture the Mysore that time, English means what? The British people, when they wanted to capture the Mysore that time, Hyder Ali and his son, they fought against the British, and Hyder Ali defeated them in the first Anglo-Mysore war. Now first Anglo-Mysore war is also very famous in the history of India. So Hyder Ali, he defeated the English in that war, and Tipu Sultan, he died fighting the English in the fourth Anglo-Mysore war, that is in the year 1799. When the fourth Anglo-Mysore war was happening, that time Tipu Sultan died in that. Now the next is Marathas as an independent kingdom in India. How the Marathas, became the power of control in the south. The Marathas were the minor chieftains in the kingdom of Ahmednagar, Bijapur and Golconda. Chieftains means what? They were only the chiefs, and they were ruling under the Mughals. Means whatever the Mughals were telling, they had to follow all those orders, and they had to do the administration according to the rules of the Mughals. And when this kingdom became big, this kingdom means what? When Ahmednagar, Bijapur and Golconda, the Nawabs of those kingdom, when they became weak, then Marathas, what they did, they declared themselves independent. Means what? Now whichever the state or whichever the province they were ruling, they said, now we are the kings over here and we are going to rule independently. And the man who carved out a powerful kingdom in the Konkan region was Shivaji. Now when Shivaji Maharaj became the king, or you can say the man who carved means what? He made a powerful kingdom in the Konkan region, and that is why Shivaji has become very famous in the history of Marathas, or in the history of Maharashtra. So we will study about Shivaji Bhosle. You know about Shivaji Maharaj. He is also called as Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, and especially he belonged to the Bhosle families. Okay, Shivaji belonged to the Bhosle families, and the Marathas became well organized under the leadership of Shivaji. He was born in the year 1627, and the name of his father is Shahaji Bhosle, and he was a high official in the Bijapur kingdom. Now which kingdom he was working? He was working as an official in the Bijapur kingdom. Plus his mother's name was Jijabai, and his Dadaji was Kondadev. And Dadaji Kondadev, he tutored his early life. Tutored means what? How you are coming to the school and learning something. So his Dadaji Kondadev, he gave the education to Shivaji about the war. He educated him about the different techniques. So he was a tutor. Tutor means he was a teacher in the life of the Shivaji. Then what all successes that Shivaji made? Now since Shivaji knew that we are under the Mughal rule, so he did not wanted to rule anymore under the Mughals, but he wanted an independent kingdom, and that is why when he was very young, that time he put together a small army. He made his own army with the help of the local boys that are called as Malwas, and with the help of that he made his own army. Plus he was using a guerrilla warfare, and because of that he captured many forts near Pune. And when he was 13 years old, when Shivaji Maharaj was 13 years old, that time he had captured one fort, and because of that he became very famous. Plus war with Bijapur. Now Shivaji, the growing power of Shivaji alarmed the king of Bijapur. When Shivaji started capturing many forts, he started capturing, the king of Bijapur, he got alarmed. Alarmed means what? He got awake. Awake means what? So the king of Bijapur, he got alert by the Shivaji's power, and he sent an army under the Afzal Khan to crush the Marathas. So what he did, he made the Afzal Khan as the head of that army, and he said to kill the Marathas. And Shivaji, what he did, he killed the Afzal Khan and he defeated the Bijapuri army. In that war, Afzal Khan was killed, and next Shivaji was having a war with Mughals. So even the Mughals, they got the threat. The Aurangzeb was ruling that time in the throne of Delhi. So he was also threat. So in 1963, what he did, he sent his uncle, Aurangzeb's uncle was Shaista Khan. So he sent Shaista Khan to capture him. And what happened? One night Shivaji with his few soldiers, and he wounded the Shaista Khan and he defeated the Mughal army. And a year later, means after 1 year, what he did, he raided the Surat and plundered it. Plundered it means what? Loot lena. So he raided the Surat and he plundered it. Then Aurangzeb, what he did, he sent Raja Jai Singh to the Deccan. He sent another king, that is Raja Jai Singh, to Deccan. And Raja Jai Singh, what he did, he besieged the fort of Purandar. Besiege means what? He captured the fort of Purandar, and when besiege means चारों तरफ से घेर लेना. Okay. So when Shivaji saw that Raja Jai Singh, he has besieged means what? चारों तरफ से fort को घेर लिया है. He did not see any road open. All the roads were blocked of the fort Purandar. That time Shivaji, he had no option but he had to agree the treaty between Aurangzeb and Shivaji, and that treaty is called the Treaty of Peace, or it is also called as the Treaty of Purandar. And according to that treaty, Shivaji had to agree that he is going to accept Aurangzeb as his overlord. Overlord means what? He is going to work under Aurangzeb and plus pay him an annual tribute. Annual tribute means what? Whatever the taxes are there or whatever the particular amount is there, that has to be paid to the lords. So Shivaji had to pay that to Aurangzeb, plus whichever the 23 forts were captured by Shivaji, he has to return that, or he has to surrender that forts to Aurangzeb. Plus he wanted to meet Aurangzeb at his court. Means Aurangzeb said that you will come to my court and meet me in Delhi and at Agra. So to honor his word means what? Whatever the word was given. So according to the word, he followed that, and Shivaji went to the Mughal court at Agra, and Aurangzeb, he insulted him by making him sit with the Mansabdars of low rank. Low rank means what? They were not as high as Shivaji's rank was there, and that is why Shivaji felt insulted. Then Shivaji tried to leave the court, but he was put under house arrest. That means he was not allowed to go out of the fort of Agra, but according to some sources, it is said that he, except from the fort of Agra, in the baskets filled with sweets and fruits. Shivaji again attacked the Mughal territories in 1674. When Shivaji accepted from Agra, after that he again tried to capture the territories which were taken by the Aurangzeb. Plus he raided Surat once again and captured a huge booty from there. Huge booty means what? Lots of money or lots of things were brought from the Surat. He also recaptured some of the forts surrendered earlier. So whichever the forts were given back to this Aurangzeb, he captured few of them. In 1674, then Shivaji crowned himself and he took over the title Chhatrapati. So after that, Shivaji was not called as Shivaji, but he is called as Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. He died in the year 1680, leaving behind a powerful kingdom. After that, after Shivaji, Maratha kingdom became a powerful kingdom in the south provinces. Now, what was the administration system in the Shivaji's kingdom? He was a great leader, he was also a great administrator. He had a council of 8 ministers called as Ashtapradhan. So 8 means what? Ashta. Council means what? The people like Pradhans, they are called Ashtapradhans, or you can say 8 councils in English language. And these were made to advise him, means whatever the things were there. So they used to give advice to Shivaji in the different situations, and the word comes from Sanskrit, that means important 8. Ashta means what? Important 8. And these were, the first one was the Peshwa, second Senapati, third Nyayadish, fourth Amadya or Majumdar, then fifth is Pancha Sachiv, then Sumanta, Mantri and Danta Shakka. Okay. Now as you all know that Peshwa, he is the head of the council or the in charge of general administration. So he was the head of the administration, overall in charge you can say of the Maratha kingdoms. Then the next one is Senapati. You know what is Senapati, right? He is the chief of the army, or you can say commander-in-chief of the army. Then Nyayadish. Nyayadish means what? Justice. So if anything goes wrong into the kingdom, then Nyayadish is going to give justice, or according to the rules he is going to provide justice to the people. Then Amadya or Majumdar, that means providing finance to the kingdom or looking after the finance. Then Pancha Sachiv, that is general secretary. Then Sumanta is foreign affairs, means dealing with the foreign people, or you can say dealing with other kings or other kingdoms. Then Mantri is the head of the intelligence. Then Dandakashya is looking after the religious matters. So whichever the religious matters are big in the kingdom, so Dandakashya is going to look after them. Then the sources of revenues, means how the Maratha kingdoms had the revenue system in their time. The main source of income was the land revenue, because the main occupation that time was agriculture, and that is why the main source of income was also our land revenue. And from the territories directly under him, Shivaji collected the 2/5 of the produce as land tax, means whatever directly which the territories were under his control, so he used to collect 2/5, means whatever जितनी भी फसल पकती थी उसका 2/5 शिवाजी used to collect from those farmers or peasants, and the areas which are not directly under the control, he used to collect 2 taxes. Means what? He used to collect 2 taxes from those people, and they were known as the Chaudh and Sardeshmukhi. Those 2 taxes were called as the Chaudh and Sardeshmukhi. Now what is Chaudh? Chaudh means 1/4 of the total land revenue that the farmers paid to the king. Means whichever the king was there, and they used to give the 1/4. 1/4 means what? A quarter part of that, and Shivaji collected this tax in return for not raiding these territories. Means what? He is not going to attack, or he is not going to raid these territories, and that is why Shivaji used to collect these taxes from those territories. And Sardeshmukhi means what? It is an additional 1/10 of the land revenue. Means whatever the revenue system is there, from that 1/10 he used to collect from those, and it was paid to the Sardeshmukh, or the chief of Marathas. Now to whom it is paid? To the Sardeshmukh, or the Sardeshmukh means what? It is called as the chief of Marathas, and it was a tributary tax. Means what? You are giving a tribute. Tribute means what? To give an honor. So it was like an honor tax for them. Now the military administration. Now the soldiers, they were also trained and disciplined in the army of Shivaji. The Shivaji army was divided into main 2 parts, that is infantry and cavalry. And in addition, Shivaji controlled many forts. Special officers were appointed to look after these forts. Shivaji also had a navy to guard the coast, because some 1 or 2 forts were like that, which had the it was near the ocean, so that is why Shivaji also had the navy army, so that these forts can be guarded, and that is why he had a special officers for that also. Then the successors of Shivaji, how Shivaji was very famous and powerful. His successors were weak and incompetent as compared to Shivaji. In the 18th century, powers passed into the hands of the Peshwa. After Shivaji, the powers ultimately shifted from the Marathas' hands into the Peshwa's hands, and it was under them that the Marathas became the dominant regional powers. And what happened because of that? The Marathas, they became the dominant regional powers. Now Peshwas, we will study about the Peshwas. Peshwa remained powerful during the year 1713 to 1761. In 1713, Shivaji's grandson Shahu appointed Balaji Vishwanath as his Peshwa. Now Peshwa means what? He was the chief of the administration, or you can say the head of the council. So what happened? Shahu Maharaj, he appointed Balaji Vishwanath as Peshwa, or you can the chief minister. He was an able administrator and helped Shahu Maharaj to control the Maratha chiefs. So he was a good administrator, plus he helped Shahu to control the Maratha chiefs, and in the course of time, Peshwa became the real decision makers. Means what? Slowly, whatever the decisions were taken, instead of Marathas taking those decisions, the Peshwas, they started taking decisions for the kingdom, and they became the decision makers. Now we will study about the different Peshwas that were ruling in India. The first one is Balaji Vishwanath. Now Balaji Vishwanath, what he did, he took advantage of the weakness of the later Mughals to capture more and more territories. Means during his time, the Mughals were becoming weak day by day, and because of that, he took the advantage for capturing more territories. He forced Farrukh Siyar to return all the territories which had been under Shivaji. So what he did, whichever the territories that were under Shivaji and Farrukh Siyar has captured that, he forced him to return all those territories back to the Peshwas. Plus, besides, the Marathas also got the right to collect Chaudh and Sardeshmukh from 6 provinces in the Deccans. Means they started collecting the Chaudhs and Sardeshmukhis from the 6 provinces which were there in the Deccan side. Then next we will study about Baji Rao. Now Balaji Vishwanath, he was succeeded by Baji Rao. Succeeded means what? Baji Rao was the son of Balaji Vishwanath. He conquered Malwa, that is southern Gujarat and parts of Bundelkhand. Towards the south, he defeated the Nizam of Hyderabad and got the right to collect taxes from some provinces of the Deccan. Means by defeating the Nizam of Hyderabad, he got the right to collect the taxes from these provinces. He also captured Salsiti and Basin from the Portuguese. Means that time Portuguese were ruling in the Goa and some Hyderabad provinces. So he captured these two regions from there. He is also known as fighting Peshwa. Now Baji Rao is also known as fighting Peshwas, as he spent the greater part of his reign fighting wars. Means in his lifetime he has fought many wars. Then next we have Balaji Baji Rao. Baji Rao was succeeded by Balaji Baji Rao as the next Peshwa, and after the death of Shahu, he became the head of the Marathas. Now means after Shahu Maharaj, who became the head? Balaji Baji Rao. He shifted the capital from Satara to Pune. Where he shifted his capital? To Pune. During his reign, the Marathas army reached as far as Punjab and Rajasthan in the north and Bengal and Odisha in the east. Means what happened? Their rules, they reached up to Rajasthan and Punjab, and in the east side they went up to Bengal and Odisha. The kingdoms of Mysore and Hyderabad were forced to hand over territories and pay tribute. Means what? Now these areas also came under control of the Peshwas, and under Baji Rao, Maratha power was at its greatest. Means what? It was the most powerful kingdom that time in India. And after the third battle of Panipat, what happened with the Marathas? Let us study about that. The Marathas became weak after the defeat at the hands of Ahmad Shah Abdali in the third battle of Panipat. When the third battle of Panipat was fought, that time the Marathas became weak. Weak means what? Their kingdom started becoming weak day by day. The various Maratha chiefs broke away and started ruling over small areas. Means what? Whichever the areas was under their control, they started ruling that. And because of this, what happened? Ultimately, the battle, the British, when they had the fought with Marathas, they defeated Marathas, and the British, they established their positions in India. And in this way, the Marathas, the rule came into end, then the Peshwas rule came into end, and then British started ruling in India. I hope you all have understood this chapter. If you have any doubts, please do ask me on Google Meet. Thank you once again. Thank you.